Hi, my name is Frances. I'm going to show portraits. So this is what my typical setup would look like. I have my water cup, my two favorite brushes, my palette that I got from Michael's and I use it almost every single day. It's a little expensive, probably about 40 bucks, but you can see how much I use those colors, and I've had it for about 6 months. And then usually I have my phone set up with my reference picture right beside it, but I had to get a little creative since I was filming on my phone. Yeah, so I usually just use two brushes, a little skinny shaped one like that, and then a bigger one like this where I do my watercolor backgrounds with. So I start each painting out with a sketch. I usually start with a circle, and then that gives me an idea from about the top of the head to the bottom of the nose. And I try to get as much detail as I can with the eyes and the nose, and then usually I can figure out the mouth and the jaw after that. With this video, I try to pick 6 different people so I could have a variety of like skin tones and hair types, different lightings, and then I wanted to pick people that had interesting features like freckles or facial hair, white hair, or glasses or wrinkles. So I chose drawing Anthony because he has red curly hair and freckles, and also I liked how this lighting looked almost purple. He has a long, funny neck. I think it's really important to, I think I rearranged the eyebrows, but I always try to keep the distance between each features like realistic, so I always try to get that eyelid crease that's in between the eyebrows and like the top of the eye, and that makes it look a lot more like the person if you have that detail in there, along with the tip of the nose, or the septum, I think that's called. I think I redraw that a few times just to make sure I know what's going on. So with my sketches, I don't try to make them look perfect, but I just need to know what's going on with the face, and then I can figure it out from there once I start adding paint. I usually go back in with my watercolor background first, just to get it out of the way. And I'm adding a lot of pink and purple into his skin, and for always like the first half of my paintings it looks a little insane, but then I start adding more and more and it makes more sense. And sometimes I overwork my paintings by adding too much. I have to go back in with my white pen, or maybe like a white color pencil. I chose drawing Kim because she has really big glasses in this picture, and I always think it's difficult to get those symmetrical, but if you paint someone with glasses, then you know like exactly where their eyes are going to be and where their nose is going to be, so it makes it easier to make it look like a realistic person. And also I just wanted to paint some long hair. I used to have a problem of spacing my nose way too close to the lips, so I'd forget that little, yeah, some people have a little dent right there. So that really stepped up my work when I realized that had to be there. ended up liking the color scheme on this one the most, just because it's very like pastel-y, and I went with the shirt she's wearing, which has little ruffles on it. I've painted Kim several times, and she's very fun to paint. I do find lighter skin tones more difficult because I like going in with very saturated colors, and I tend to like make them look a little crazy. But with darker skin tones, I can really just add all the bright colors I want and maybe just tone it down a little bit, and it still looks pretty good. I spend the longest time on trying to make sure that the eyes are even, which is more difficult for me if they're not facing completely forward or if their head's tilted a little bit. But once you get that down, it kind of falls into place after that. I do wish the drawing was a little bit different on this one. You can see like how much more color I start putting on the face just with the first layer. And I use a lot of paint, so I always use a hairdryer between each one just to speed up the drying time. I highly recommend using a hairdryer. My favorite thing to do is going back in to add highlights, especially in like the eyes and like around the nose and the lips, because it just adds so much detail and it makes it look so lifelike. Or not, just depending on how heavily you do it. That's always my favorite part. This is one of my roommates, Gabby. You can tell I was trying to be really careful with the eye creases and the eyebrows, just because she has a very symmetrical face, especially in this picture. Whereas it would be really noticeable if the eyes were all wonky, which they are, but I think I fixed that. She's so pretty. Also, I tend to not draw in very dark, especially with the teeth. And usually I don't even go in with dark colors in between each tooth because it adds too much attention to the mouth and it ends up looking very ugly. So I usually just leave the little lines I make with my pencil. I don't add much color in there. And it ends up looking pretty okay. People always walk in about right here when I have about half the color down and it looks kind of crazy. And then you have to be like, oh no, that's what I'm doing. And then it starts looking good after that, once you tone it down. This is definitely my favorite of these portraits that I did. Probably just the saturation in the background. This is my other roommate's dad. I picked him because he has white hair and he has a very reddish pink skin tone, which I thought would be challenging to paint. He also doesn't have much eyebrows, which is why I drew those little circles, because it kind of just has, I don't know, little light spots on his face instead of eyebrows. And he has a white beard, which I had never done before. Out of all of the portraits, this one was definitely the least successful in my eyes. I still like it, it's just a little bit too much. I don't think I'll ever show him it. This was also difficult because my reference picture, he's like kind of covered up and it's just kind of hard to see his whole face. Usually the better the picture I have, the better the painting I can do, which makes sense. See, that's just so much pink right off the bat, and it just gets a little too intense. I did tone it down some with some white color pencil afterwards, but it was still a little too scary. I try to make my portraits flattering, but sometimes I don't do a good job at it. I've painted Griffin so many times just because he's so easy to paint. Personally, just because I think it's just his dark facial hair. I always find beards easier to paint because it covers up about half of the face. You don't have to worry about the entire jaw. They usually have dark eyebrows and dark hair, so there's just super high contrast. Not a lot of stuff you have to add to the skin. So this is definitely the easiest one. I don't know how helpful my commentary on this is. I feel like I'm not really explaining anything. I guess I don't have to since you're watching it. And it's just a lot of layers. And eventually it builds up to something. Or it doesn't, and you learn from it. See,